Yes, he did.
Brandon, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be
Isn't
here.
it nice to have a popular guest? That's very, very nice. And it's very nice to have all of you here. And this is, of course, America's Mayor Live. And it's going to be a very lively show. We will, as we move along and talking to Brandon, we'll keep you posted with the things you're not going to hear elsewhere. I'm trying to figure out the best way to cover one of the phoniest stories. This is the one involving Ms. Hutchinson, Cassidy Hutchinson. I thought maybe I don't want to go into great detail about myself, except for the fact that here's how I would describe it.
Fake news. Listen, you're being rude. You're fake news. You're fake news. Stop being rude. You're fake news. That is such fake news.
That's it.
You're fake news.
Okay? Got it? Bent over in front of all those people. Never did anything like that in my whole life. It really is rather depressing when this kind of thing happens to you just because of politics. But in any event, we're going to move on. We're going to move on. We'll deal with it in more detail at some point, either today or tomorrow or whatever. So first, I should alert the people in New York and the people around the country to something that's going to come to your town very, very quickly. They have passed a law in New York in which you do not have to show up and vote.
What?
You can mail in your vote. Everybody, the whole...
Right for fraud.
Well, the only thing good about it is, a couple of years there'll be nobody left here. So there won't be anybody mailing it in. Everybody's leaving. But you can mail it in. Governor Hochul signed it. Of course, as usual, she probably didn't read it, nor would it do much good if she did, because all she's thinking about is when she's going to get her payoff for the stadium in Buffalo. You know about that with her husband, who's part of it. She steered it to him. And then you know about the $300 million campaign contribution. Catch this one. The Democrats get away with this. She gets a $300 million campaign contribution from a supplier of tests for COVID. And they get a $600 million contract from her for COVID tests. Now, here's the interesting part. That contract was $300 million more, almost to the penny, than California paid for the same number of tests. So she in essence, produced her own campaign contribution by giving him $300 million. This is what we do in New York. The company that Adams signed up to help with the debacle that he's created, which I think was getting $475 million, that guy has run away or left, the guy running it, because they said something that really scared the hell out of him. Audit. They said audit, and then they went to try to find him, and he's not there anymore. Now, I don't believe this, but Ted's going to check it. They tell me the guy's name is Capone. But I mean, that's Adams for you. I mean, he's a New York politician. The Israeli ambassador being thrown out of the UN reminds me of the last famous throw out from the UN. That was done by me, and that was Yasser Arafat. The difference is I threw out the murderer. They kept the murderer on the podium. The guy speaking for the regime of terror, I think is known as a butcher. His nickname is AKA Butcher. I don't think Biden has that nickname. He's got other pseudonyms. But this guy has killed, I'm going to go modest on it, 8,000 of his own people. Right now, he's killing off a couple hundred a week to try to keep the protests under control. So he gets to address the UN, largely because in that audience, some fair percentage of them are killers, and the ones that aren't are crooks, perverts. Now, you want to dispute that with me, you come on and debate me. I'll just take out any one of the weekly reports I used to get from the New York Police Department where you had a special section devoted to crimes by the UN. They have their own little special section. They commit so much crime. The Israeli ambassador is one of the few that doesn't. He got thrown out because he was just carrying a little thing around pointing out that the guy at the podium is a murderer. They've had protests in the UN before. Nobody's thrown out. But if you're an American or an Israeli, different rules apply. And why the hell we have the UN and why we pay them any money anymore. The last time they were relevant, you probably weren't born. I was, because it was the Korean War. You guys weren't around probably. And probably they were relevant in helping to create Red China in doing that. And you know their Human Rights Commission involves countries like Red China, Iran. They want to put all the people who deny human rights and commit crimes of terror on the committee so they understand what's involved. You get that? I don't. Finally, the last thing we'll cover for now, and things you're not going to hear about anyplace else, is New York is trying to complete what they started about 2 years ago. They want to get rid of the statue of Christopher Columbus on Columbus Circle. I guess they're going to rename it Che Guevara Square or something, or who knows what they're going to rename it, some communist whatever. The president or prime minister of Italy was there trying to persuade them not to do that. Probably would have been more effective if Joe Colombo were there, but Joe Colombo got shot there. I mean, how can you take down a place where Joe Colombo got shot? I mean, here I am a very proud Italian American, and I love Columbus, and I don't care if he made mistakes, because he was human, and he probably made no more mistakes than the people of his day, and probably less, because he was a rather religious man. But at any event, he did something nobody else did. He sailed across that damn ocean and got us to recognize it. Nobody else got us to recognize it. That's a man with a lot of guts. He discovered Dominican Republic. But I mean, he got it on the map. He got the whole place on the map, and he got everybody moving in that direction. And therefore, he's entitled to that honor. And it's part of history. And did he commit sins? Yeah. Did he do things wrong? Yeah. Do the people they want to replace with the statues they're going to put up do things wrong? Yes. Were they equivalent? In some cases, yes. So I have a trade. I have a fair trade to show that they're not hypocrites. Get rid of the damn title Democrat Party. Someone actually finally agreed with me. Finally. I've been saying this now for how long, Dr. Maria? No, about 8 months, 9 months. But listen to this. Jay Sylvester from Yonkers writes in, when looking for historical villains, as New York City seems to be doing, they are so far overlooking one of the most outrageous protectors and practitioners of slavery. After being formed in the 1830s, the Democratic Party advocated continuing and advancing the spread of slavery so strongly that it resulted in a civil war in the 1860s, in which they supported secession. When that effort failed, they transformed into Dixiecrats, who used terror to enforce strict racial separation, the Ku Klux Klan, and things like that, and hostility for 100 years into the 1960s. So maybe the city council can start purging those who still hold allegiance to this long time, historically pernicious political organization. Change the name, hypocrites. Well, Brandon.
Yeah. Good opening. Solid work.
Brandon. Now, Brandon's got a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah.
Because this is a big life, and he's young. He's got a lot more to go. But it's like he's already had a big life. Which one shall we do? The January 6th part? Or shall we do how you're going to change America?
Let's do the walkaway into January 6th.
Okay,
into
all right.
Yeah.
So tell us about Walkaway. It's a great title.
Thank you.
I think some of you, because you're smart, probably get it without me. Without, first time I heard it, I got it.
You did?
Yeah, I got what you were talking about.
That's good. That's good marketing.
Yeah. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those because I walked away.
You did?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Oh God, I think it was back during Lincoln.
Will you make a walkway video?
Yeah, you're damn right.
Okay, you guys heard? Yeah, yes. The cruise. Yeah.
But I remember why.
No, I'm really hold him to it. Okay.
Their fondness for communism
Yes.
and the crookedness of the poverty programs. Because I was a prosecutor and I was investigating something called the Model Cities Administration, and the poor people were getting nothing, and the politicians, particularly the minority politicians, were taking everything.
Yes. See, moments like I'm having right now, sitting right here with you, this close to you, are very surreal for me because I moved to New York in the year 2000, the very beginning of the year 2000, and I hated Mayor Giuliani, hated him, because I was a Democrat, I was a liberal, and when I got here, the first thing they told me is,
A Nazi.
yeah, he's a terrible guy. He ruined New York, horrible person. But then 9/11 happened, and you became America's mayor. That's when we started to change our mind. And, now I'm sitting here, and we're on the same political side of the aisle, and I think the world of you. I think you're an amazing guy. I really do.
Can I just say he lowered crime more than any other mayor?
Yes,
Yeah.
doctor. Yes, doctor.
Yeah, well, and now we kind of see the other side of that in the city
Yeah.
because it's kind of coming where it's getting back to
Very sad.
the pre-Giuliani
job
days.
the media does in forming people's opinions.
Of course.
That's
well, we
exactly
know
right.
that.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, and the hive-mindedness of liberals and the Democratic Party, because the only reason I thought that is because I got here and other liberal-minded people told me that's what I was supposed to think when I got here. But yeah, no, I was alive.
How did the switch take place broadly?
Yeah. Well, Trump. It was
When he
Trump.
ran?
Yeah. Well, no, because when he ran, I was terrified because the media that I trusted, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, et cetera.
I know this is kind of off the point. I always wonder why they hate him so much.
Yeah.
What is it about him that I mean, I can understand the annoying things. He's my friend. I understand the annoying things about him. But what's so evil? They're going to the point where it's like, I can't think of people that died. He didn't kill anybody.
Right.
He didn't starve anybody.
No. It's pure
He
propaganda.
kept us out of war.
Right.
So why the hatred? Why's the great hatred?
I can explain. It's 100% pure propaganda, and the propaganda works because so many people in this country have not learned yet that the left-wing media cannot be trusted. They still believe in these institutions. They still think that they're truthful and they think that they're good. I mean, look at it this way. I was a huge fan of The Apprentice. I watched it every Thursday night. I was so excited to get home, watch The
That's before he was a
Apprentice.
candidate, right?
Yeah, right. But the point is, I loved Donald Trump. I loved watching The Apprentice. Then, flash forward a few years, I'm in, the gym on the treadmill running. He's running, and I look up watching CNN on the treadmill, and CNN tells me Donald Trump mocks disabled reporter. And I was like, what? And I just thought it was like the sickest thing I had ever heard. And meanwhile, they'd been saying they're making these bigoted comments, they're making these racist comments. He's stoking white supremacy. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on in this country? Believing every word of this. But this huge moment for me was the disabled reporter thing. That was really because I thought it was the most. First of all, I thought that was going to be the end of his political career. I thought, well, surely this is the moment that's going to tank the whole thing. But it didn't. The next thing that happens is he's getting more and more popular. More and more people are getting behind him. And but by election day, I was a huge Hillary supporter, huge. And by election day, they were saying he had a 3% chance of winning.
I remember that. You're exactly right. 3%.
Yes,
I remember exactly that percentage.
3%. So I voted for Hillary, and I was living in New York City on the Lower East Side. I was so excited to have my friends came over. We were having our first woman president party because Hillary was going to win, and we're sitting there. The hours are rolling by. The oxygen is being sucked out of the room, and then around 10 o'clock, everybody left my party in tears. And they hadn't called it yet. It wasn't until about 2:15 in the morning. I'm laying in bed, refreshing the Huffington Post every 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the headline changed, and in giant red letters it read "Nightmare, President Trump."
Was that right? Did it say nightmare?
It's a nightmare, President Trump. And then it said, millions to lose their health insurance, civil rights to be rolled back,
Well,
dot,
this is
dot,
it.
dot.
Now you're explaining it, and then you're telling me people believe that.
I called in sick to work the next day, and I stayed home, and I got on Facebook, and I spent the entire day crying on a Facebook Live because I was tormented, shattered, horrified. I literally thought we had elected Hitler.
This is like,
Thoroughly brainwashed.
Yeah, I never really been. This is like we did in school where they had the special rooms for the kids to go, the grieving rooms for the kids.
Yeah, the safe spaces. Yes.
I had a client who the poor young girl, when she was just about 13 years old, she was holding a Trump poster, and she went to school in Washington, and for some reason they put her picture. She's got a cute little kid.
Yeah.
They put a picture in the Washington Post. Everybody in her school saw her with a Trump poster, and she became the kid to torture.
Yeah, public enemy number
and then
one.
when he won, they went really crazy on her. And then I asked her, what was it like? She said, well, the school was like in mourning.
Yeah.
The teachers, they brought in psychiatrists.
Yes.
They had a special name for the room. Safe room.
Safe space.
Safe space.
Yeah.
They had safe spaces
Yeah.
for the kids. So the safe spaces were overwhelmed with
Yeah.
kids.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I said, was it legitimate? She said, yeah, these kids were breaking down crying.
Yeah, I needed a safe space. Like I was at home in my own safe space, and so basically, you know, and I'm glad I told that because I
I'm
spent.
glad you are too, because for people on the other side, it's hard to understand this. And
Well, and I spent the next 2 weeks feeling that way. I mean, I literally called out to work like for several days, and I'm not kidding. And then finally I realized, okay, I got to kind of move on with my life, but I wasn't moving on with my life. I was really, really upset. And so I said to myself, I need, in order to move past this feeling, because this is going to be a very long and torturous 4 years, I think I need to understand how this happened. Two things. How did the media get it so wrong? And why would anyone vote for this man? And so I kind of went on this journey of research just to answer those questions. But the really pivotal moment was in January of 2017. I got on Facebook and I said, I will never be able to understand how anyone could vote for a man who's capable of standing in front of a cheering crowd and mocking a reporter's disability. Like, what is the matter with you people? And that's when a woman, she actually was my babysitter when I was really young, staunch Christian conservative. She reached out to me privately and she just said, look, I'm not trying to have a fight with you. I'm just asking, have you seen this? And she sent me a link to a video entitled Debunking That Trump Mocked the Disabled Reporter. And when I first saw just the title of the video, I was like, oh, God, this stupid brainwashed right-wing idiot, you know, and then I thought, well, okay, good. This is going to be fun because I'm going to watch this and then I get to tell her how stupid she is. Yeah, stupid idiot. And but I watched it and it's a compilation of footage that showed very compellingly that this is just a bit that Donald Trump does when he's imitating anybody because they're flailing, because they're caught in a lie.
Right.
And then I thought, oh my God, well, he didn't mock that reporter's disability, but why did CNN tell me he did?
Right.
That's what got me going down this journey of research to understand how often the media was lying and twisting and manipulating. And that went on for several months. And by the time I came out the other side, I realized Donald Trump was not my enemy. CNN was my enemy.
Wow.
MSNBC, the New York Times.
Yeah,
I'd been listening to liars.
Yeah, if you have that one moment where you look at it the other way, they then make it easy because they're so over the top.
I always say, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
you see it all the time.
Over the top. I mean, Charlottesville was is a balanced comment. They just leave the balance out.
That was the first
course-
one I
of
saw in
cour-
real time.
Of course, in Charlottesville, both sides had good people there
Yes.
and some terrible people there.
Right.
It isn't as if every single white person there was a bad person
Exactly.
and every single black person there was a good person.
You're right. His comment was true.
Generally, we have a pretty equal distribution of good and bad.
That's right. That's right. That was the first incident that I saw in real time after I had my awakening, because I was like, God, and I really saw how they're doing it to minorities. If you're black or you're brown or you're LGBT, everything that they tell you is you're in danger, you're in danger. The Republicans are out to get you. They want to take your rights away. Donald Trump wants to send you back to Africa or put you in a Mike Pence gay conversion therapy camp. And then I started to be like, this is getting a little far-fetched.
Yeah.
But you get it. Once you get it, you see it all the time.
So then you got involved in politics on the right.
Yeah, but I didn't totally mean to. I got really mad when I saw the thing about the minorities,
Right.
you know, because that's the biggest
Yeah,
thing
me too.
that's dividing our country.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it is.
So I made
On purpose.
on 100% on purpose.
That's their substitution for class that Marx would have used.
Exactly right. Yep. Yeah. Minority communities are the new proletariat.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, look what happened in 2020 because they have so thoroughly convinced black people that they're not safe. You know, I mean, they go on every night and they say, you're not safe in this country. You're not safe in this country. And then we have rioting and neighborhoods burning down because of the manipulation. But when I figured this out, I decided I wanted to speak out about it. So back in May of 2018, I created a 6-minute video where I talked about all the reasons why I was walking away from liberalism in the Democratic Party and the left-wing media and all of it. And I created a Facebook group that I called #WalkAwayCampaign. And what I said basically was, if you're feeling the way I'm feeling, share your story, make your own video, tell your walkaway story. I can't be the only one. And I put it out there and the video just went crazy. Millions of views. It was everywhere.
A lot of people telling their story and
Oh,
sharing.
well, over the next 2.5 years, we had 511,000 people join the Facebook group and tens of thousands of people sharing videos and telling their stories.
Right.
I mean, it became truly
like catharsis for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and finally they had a community because for so long people were having these feelings privately and thinking, well, I don't, you know, it's not just like changing your party registration. You walk away from the Democratic Party, it's like leaving a cult. You're going to get turned on by your friends, by your family. You're going to lose job opportunities. You're going to get, it's insane. But if you know that there's a community you can join and not be alone when you make this decision, it makes it a lot easier to move forward.
What happened to you when you left?
Well, I ended up going to jail.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
That's ultimately where the story leads. No, I mean, honestly, the first two and a half years.
You went to jail later.
No, I know, but I thought we were cutting straight to like.
Yeah, you were involved in that thing that was worse than the Civil War.
Yeah.
Worse than
worse than
September
9/11. Right.
Worse
Yeah.
than Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, I tried to overthrow the government with my iPhone. Yeah, but no, the first 2.5 years were great. Those were the Trump years. So Walkway started in May of 2018 for the next.
It had great success. I mean,
incredible success. Yeah, and it for me launched a political career. I mean, really as a pundit. You know, I ended up being. All over Fox News and Newsmax and going to every state in the country, speaking, doing walkaway events, college campus tours, things like that. And we still do, but it's, you know, after January 6th, you know, my life took a dark turn for quite a while.
So you want to tell us now how that came about?
Why not? Yeah. So
it's a very public story, so we're not asking any.
No, not at all.
Confidential.
No, I mean, I gained a very large following in the world of politics, and a lot of people. I think that my political brand has become synonymous with authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people really trust me and see me as somebody who tells the truth. And I take that very seriously. So when the 2020 election turned out the way that it did, and nobody really knew what to do at first. They were kind of like, we know this is wrong. We know something's happening, but what do we do about it? And I had heard of a group of political influencers who were lending their name to a cause that they were calling Stop the Steal. And yeah, and I was reached out to, and they said, look, we're just basically sending people with large followings to these different swing states and having them host rallies and keep people's spirits up and basically say, you know, let's put pressure on the state legislators and make sure that we want a forensic audit. We want to know that this election was authentic one way or another. And if Joe Biden won, Joe Biden won. But it seems really hard to believe that that's the way this turned out. So I went to Michigan and I went to Georgia and I went to DC and I was really out there being a part of it. And then eventually someone said, will you come to DC on January 6th and speak at an event that we're doing at the Capitol after the president speaks at the Ellipse? And I said, sure, I will. So I came and I was sitting right there in the front row at the Ellipse on January 6th. I saw you over there and President Trump over there. And I didn't see Cassidy Hutchinson that
I
day.
wasn't groping
you,
anyone.
you weren't groping anybody that I could see. But yeah, no, I don't think that
Bending over. And
happened. It's so preposterous.
I'm trying to figure out how I bent over and put my arm up her dress.
And it was so cold
I would
that
have,
day.
I would have,
mean,
I would have had to. First of all,
we would have been
I have
frozen.
enormously bad knees. I don't think I could bend over that far.
Yeah.
And second, I'd be in front of all these people bending over and putting my arm up her dress.
You were right there in front of all of it. I mean, I could see you were.
I don't think that day, including the rest of the day, because it got crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever out of the presence of 3 or 4 other people.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I ran,
sure.
and plus I had security, extra security that day.
Right.
But in any event.
event.
So you were there.
Yeah.
You were going to speak after the president. But
Correct.
Then it turned out the president was late.
The president was late. And and it was so I don't think that it's hard to remember, but I don't think I got out of there till I don't know 1:30, 1:40.
You got out after he finished?
Yeah, I stayed until the very end.
When he made the comments about the very, very provocative about go to the Capitol
peacefully and
patriotically.
patriotically. Yes.
That's, of course, that was the signal.
Yeah.
That really meant burn the Capitol.
Right. That's how I took it.
Yeah, I
yeah.
did too.
Yeah. But no, because I had such a great seat, I was one of the very last people to be able to get out. And so almost the entire thing had cleared by the time I got out. And then I had hired security to escort me there. And they told me, you can't do the march because if you do the march, you'll never make it on time. You're going to miss your speaking engagement. You have to go by the DC Metro. So I went down underground, got on the DC Metro. And as I was getting near the stop to get off to walk to the Capitol, I started getting messages on my phone from friends and coworkers who were at home watching on television and saying, we're hearing on the news that people are going inside the building. Well, first of all, I don't believe anything the news says. And second of all, that sounded like a really unusual thing. And so, because they were saying, oh, there's a struggle and people are going in and whatever. So I said, okay, well, if something's happening, I want to see it with my own eyes and I want to film it because, again, I don't believe the news. So we walked to the Capitol, and I was approaching from the east side, which is very relevant because the struggles with police officers and people breaking window was happening on the west side. I was approaching from the east side, and as I got there, there were thousands of people all scattered around very peacefully. No one was upset. No one was trying to get inside the building. No one was freaking out. There were 0 police officers, 0 on the east side grounds, not a single one. And I'm filming my video. I'm walking up to the Capitol. I get to a point, you see this on my video, where you can see this large sidewalk. There's bike rack off on this side and there's bike rack off on this side, but the entire sidewalk is fully open. And I just continue to walk and I walked into a crowd of thousands of people. Well, apparently that's when I committed my first felony because they
had you walked out of the west side?
No, I never went on the west side.
Oh, okay.
I was never once on the west side. No, but what I'm saying is that on the east side, at the end of the sidewalk, there was a completely open sidewalk with bike rack here and bike rack here. But I was charged with a felony of occupying restricted grounds. And apparently, at that moment when I walked in past that open bike rack is when I walked onto.
What you're telling me is you had no idea that it was restricted.
I'm saying that there were no signs.
Yeah,
There were no police officers.
Right.
There was no one saying you're not allowed to be here. But nonetheless, I walked into the crowd of thousands of people. And when I got to the Capitol, there were thousands of people on the steps facing away from the building, not facing toward the building, not trying to get in, people holding signs, singing songs. And at the top of the stairs, there was a man and he was shouting down like this and motioning like this. And he said, "They've opened the doors. They're letting us in. We're going inside. We're going inside." And so I walked up to the top of the stairs. And when I got there, sure enough, both of the double doors, Columbus doors of the building were wide open.
Now, these are the doors that really can't be opened by an ordinary person.
Magnetically locked from the
Magnetically
inside.
locked, and I think only 2 people have the keys to them. I've forgotten.
And they're 20,000-pound doors.
Right. So
Right.
They had to be opened officially.
Yeah, somebody who knew how to open them.
Unlike
opened
some
them.
of the other parts, when you see the film, somebody will break a window, or this couldn't be done with this door. You'd have to be Superman.
Right. That's right. And
We'll take a short break. Okay, we're going to take a
cliffhanger.
We're going to take a short break when we figure out if Superman was in the area. Because if he was, he'll be arrested tomorrow by the FBI. We'll be back in a moment. The Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Before we get back to this a very compelling narrative, I'm going to get everybody ready for it because everybody's going to take with me their balance of nature veggies, their balance of nature fruits, because you don't get enough fruits and vegetables here. We're gonna give Brandon one.
I would love some.
There's a vegetable.
I'm out of water though.
Well, we're gonna
So
get.
do I have to actually chew it like a vegetable?
No. We're gonna get you some water.
Brandon, it's mandatory that
Can we
every
get him a
guest
little
on
water?
the mayor's show takes a balance of nature.
I
This is
love
a
it.
good thing.
You
Yeah.
can't imagine.
Competitor, right?
Right.
You can't make them do it.
Right.
A lot of them come back 3-4 inches taller, big muscles.
Oh, that's great.
I take a lot of
Good.
balance of nature.
Yeah.
So,
He used to be.
'Cause I need to get a little
He used to
tall-
be a skinny little guy a couple weeks ago.
Another water.
He used to be a skinny little guy a couple weeks ago. After he's been taking his Balance of Nature. Now, you can get Balance of Nature by going to balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy. You'll get 35% off this. You take these every day, and you'll have your required or helpful amount of fruits and vegetables from which you get all of the things that you're trying to get with all the supplements you take. Because that's where they come from, fruits and vegetables. But you just don't get to eat as much of them as much as you should. So you take this, I take it twice a day. This is my second one today.
It kind of tastes like fruits and vegetables
Yeah, it
too.
does. We have someone who's actually tasted it. I'll have him. He's actually opened it up and tasted it. Oh, tell us, Rob. What do they taste like?
Well, the fruit definitely tastes like fruit, tastes like berries, I would say.
Yeah.
Primarily like berries. And then the green has a very typical green flavor, like wheatgrass or something like that.
Yeah.
With a hint of garlic, believe it or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you're supposed to break them open and take them that way. But he did. I can't imagine it harms you if you do.
No.
The mere fact that he's had a green face for 3 weeks now doesn't.
The only side effect.
Lost a couple brain cells too. All right, Mayor. Let's get back to.
Okay, now so
Brandon,
so far nothing's happened.
Yeah.
You walk through that sort of a barricade, but open.
Open barricade.
Looking like you should be able to walk through it. Nothing warning you not to go through it. And then what happens?
So I'm at the top of the steps on the east side of the
Are
Capitol.
you hearing noise yet?
What kind of noise?
Like loud noise, like we hear all this noise when we watch the photos. And,
No, I would say, so here's the funny thing. When you watch, if you were to watch my video that I shot outside the Capitol,
we are in a little while.
oh boy. Well, you do hear beep beep beep, yeah, the alarm from the doors being open. But if you were there, you didn't hear it. You can hear it on the video.
So when you were approaching, the doors were being opened.
They were already open.
Oh.
When I got to the top of the stairs.
But when did you hear the beep beep beep?
I never did. You can
You're telling me people did. Other people did.
I'm telling you, the DOJ did when they
Right.
watched my video, and that was what they're like. Well, you must have known you weren't allowed to be there. You could hear the alarm going off, and I'm saying, but you couldn't if you were there. You have people all around,
Right,
chanting
right.
USA and USA, and all these different things, and you just weren't paying attention to that. And the frequency will pick up on a video much better than your ear will hear it, but nonetheless, yeah. So the doors were open. There was some beeping, which nobody heard, and some people were trying to make their way inside, and the majority of people like myself were shooting video. Now, there were people standing in front of me much taller than me, and so I took my arm and I held it fully above my head, and I pointed my camera down, and I shot a video for 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, a man came out of the building.
And you couldn't really see everything you were shooting, I imagine, right?
I couldn't see what I was shooting at all.
Right, because
At all.
Yeah, even right. You could right.
Right. But a man came outside of the building, got on a bullhorn, and he shouted, they've cleared Congress, everyone left the building, move out, move out. And at that point, I immediately turned around and I left. So to be clear,
Do you know who that was?
he was I would say he was a protester.
Oh,
He wasn't like an official.
He wasn't in a uniform. Or anything.
No, he wasn't a police officer. He wasn't with,
He was in normal clothes,
normal guy. Yeah, seemed to be.
and he said everybody should go.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't Ray Epps.
And you and
If that's what you're asking.
and you left.
I did.
What did other people do?
No, everyone else I think stayed because I had to kind of struggle through the crowd to get out of there, and I just it didn't even occur to me to look back or think about it at all. And so to be clear, I never entered the Capitol. I didn't break anything. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't tell anyone else to hurt anybody.
When the government eventually, brought the case against you, did they allege anything?
They did. Yeah,
That
they
you
sure
did?
did. Yeah. So I uploaded my video to Twitter.
Okay.
And it lived on Twitter for about 2 hours. And then I got back to my hotel room. When I got back to my hotel room in DC, I turned on my TV. And when I turned on my TV, the first thing I see is the footage of what had happened on the west side of the building. And I thought, what the hell is this? Because suddenly I'm seeing people fighting with officers and breaking windows. And I'm like, that's not what I saw, where I was. And I got a little bit concerned. And so I took my video down. But it had lived on Twitter long enough that left-wing trolls had copied it, and they started reposting it every day and tagging the FBI and telling the FBI Brandon Straka was part of the insurrection. He was there. He was, encouraging people, whatever. People started asking me, are you worried? Are you concerned? And I said, no, I'm not concerned because I didn't do anything. But I said, I don't feel super comfortable, but, I'm not worried. Well, then 2.5 weeks later, on the morning of Monday, January 25th, I woke up at the crack of dawn to a team of FBI agents.
Where did you live at this time?
Omaha, Nebraska, in an apartment.
They went all the way to Omaha. Of course,
Well,
yeah.
it was Omaha field office.
Yeah, but they went all over the country.
Correct.
I shouldn't.
Yeah. There's nowhere they won't go
People
to
should realize they
find little old ladies who walked inside the
invested
Capitol.
millions in this investigation.
Yeah. And millions more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
they came. No warning.
and they're being funded by Republicans, by the way.
No,
But
no warning.
oh no. I mean, no. My door was going to be beaten down.
Did you have the slightest idea they were going to come?
None.
And
No,
when-
I
and when-
never dreamed they would.
And when was this? What? This was,
It was the morning of Monday, January 25th.
okay.
Yeah, so about 2.5 weeks after January 6th.
What time in the morning?
Oh, 6, 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just about the same time they came to that door.
Yeah. Yeah, they
About 6
love
in the
those
morning.
early morning visits. And so they come in my apartment. They get me out of bed, put me in handcuffs. That was the first thing. Within 30 seconds, I was cuffed. And they told me I was facing multiple felony charges for what I had done on January 6th. And I remember the first words out of my mouth reflexively, I said felonies. I said I didn't even commit any crimes. And the guy who I refer to as the lead agent said, oh, I saw your video. I saw what you did. He was like, oh, you definitely, you're in big trouble. And then the agents are going through my apartment and they're stripping my apartment of my computers, my phones, my iPads, my hard drives, my thumb drives, my camera equipment, clothing. And the other agents sat me down and they said, we want you to answer some questions. And I said, I'm not going to answer any questions without an attorney. And they said, oh, so you're refusing to cooperate. And I said, no, I'm not refusing to cooperate. I said, I'm happy to cooperate with you, but not without an attorney present.
You asserted your right under the Fifth Amendment.
Correct.
Which they're supposed to respect.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to make that comment.
Well, and what they were trying to do is intimidate me.
I had enough cases that got thrown out because the FBI did that. That I know that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well,
the minute you say, I don't want to talk, a legitimate law enforcement officer has to respect that and not try to coerce you or
make you feel like you're in
encourage
more
you
trouble because
or
you're not
play
cooperating.
good guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. But okay,
Right.
so they tried to get you to talk anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I felt like he made that comment because he was trying to make me feel like you're in trouble now, but you're about to be in more trouble if you don't tell us, you know. But I said, no, I'm not playing this game. So at that moment, they got me up. They, frog marched me through my apartment building with my hands cuffed behind my back and put me in the back of a black car and took me to jail. And when I got to jail, they put me in 23-hour lockdown.
So they took you to a jail.
Yeah.
Did they fingerprint you, photograph you?
Oh yeah, I was processed in. I got a mugshot taken.
And then they put you in a cell.
It took about 2 hours because the processing part is really scary too. People they actually took me in a room called medical, and a nurse guard came at me with a syringe, and he said, "Give me your arm." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "All new inmates in the jail system have to get a TB test. It's mandatory." Now, whatever. Maybe that's not the biggest deal in the world, but in an age of everybody getting vaccinated and you not feeling like you don't even have a choice, just having a complete stranger stick something into your arm and inject it with
A situation where you're in confusion anyway.
total confusion and duress.
fear, right.
Yeah. And distress and all these things. Correct. They had put me they'd taken my clothes away, put me in an orange jumpsuit. I went through all of that. And then they took me upstairs and put me in a cell and told me I'd be locked in 23 hours a day. I said, well, when am I going to see a judge? And they said, we don't know. They said, so here's the thing. They came and picked me up in the middle of a blizzard. So the weather wasn't too bad for them to come and get me, but the weather was too bad for the courts to be open. So they told me the courts are closed because of the blizzard. We don't know when the courts are going to reopen, so we have no idea when you'll see a judge. And I said, well, how long could it be? And they said, it's once the courts reopen, they're going to be backed up in cases. It may be next week before you see a judge. And they're telling me I'm going to be in 23-hour lockdown, and they shut the door. So I was in my cell for 2.5 days before I finally was able to see a judge. And the judge ordered my release, which the government didn't fight. It was actually really disturbing because when I was in my...
Did you have a lawyer for that?
Did. Yeah, my team, my walkaway team, had found me a lawyer while I was in jail, thank God. But
Did he get to visit you during that period?
no,
So you met him for the first time when you got to court?
in a virtual hearing. Yeah, in a virtual hearing.
So he was somewhere else.
Correct. Yeah.
And did you get a chance to tell him your story?
Not at all. No.
How did he accomplish getting you out?
Well, because he had already been on the phone with the prosecutors in D.C. while I was in jail. And apparently the prosecutors in D.C. said, we're not going to fight to have him detained. Right. And this is what I was about to tell you. So they took me into another cell in the jail. And that's where I was in front of a computer having my virtual hearing. And it was really disturbing because the prosecutor representing the government was almost jovial and said, "Your Honor, we know that Mr. Straka didn't engage in any violence or vandalism or theft or destruction. And we know that Mr. Straka didn't go inside the Capitol. So we're not seeking detention of Mr. Straka in this case."
Because you had a detached you had a normal prosecutor who wasn't one of these maniacs.
But I'm thinking to myself, if you know all
part
this,
of a
why
cult.
did you send an FBI SWAT to my apartment?
Because he didn't. Washington did.
Well, it just seemed like a stark dichotomy
I
between.
can see that.
Yeah.
I can see the reason. The guy that made that decision was playing it the way you would normally play it, but the people who ordered it had their own agenda, which is
Right.
that this was worse than Pearl Harbor.
Right. Yeah, and that
you're
this had to be
a
terrorist.
you're
Yeah,
a terrorist.
an act of terrorism. Exactly.
Nobody clued this guy in that you're a terrorist.
Correct.
You don't look like one.
I guess
you don't
not.
have the record of one, and you weren't charged with crimes that sound like terrorism. But so they let you out on your own recognizance.
They let me out, and then I was able to the next morning meet my attorney in person for the first time, and that's when I started to learn what I was being accused of. So they had charged me initially with 2 felonies and a misdemeanor, So the two felonies I was charged with, one, occupying restricted grounds, which is just so bizarre because even people who went inside the Capitol are getting charged with misdemeanor occupying a restricted building. I got charged with a felony of occupying restricted grounds for being outside the building. And then they charged me with a felony called impeding law enforcement in the line of duty. And I said to my attorney, I said, what the hell is this? I said, there weren't even any police officers on the east side of the building. And he said, well, in your video that you're shooting like this, he said, there's a moment where one officer is actually walking through the crowd and he's holding his plastic shield above his head like this. And as he's walking through, a couple of people start grabbing at it and one of them grabs it out of his hand. And then you hear some people in the chat and the crowd going, take it, take the shield, take the shield. Well, the FBI says that's you. You were the one shouting to take the shield. And so they're charging you with a felony of impeding law enforcement for allegedly saying those words. And then a misdemeanor, disorderly conduct with an intent to disrupt a hearing before Congress. And the prosecutor told my attorney, we have not yet charged him with felony obstruction of an official proceeding. We might, but we haven't yet. We're going to see where this goes, essentially. Or he can take a plea deal. He can take a misdemeanor plea deal. So I'm facing two felonies and a misdemeanor.
Right away, they gave you a misdemeanor plea deal.
Well, they didn't. So my attorney asked for it immediately. He said, would you be willing to drop these felonies if he pleads guilty to a misdemeanor? And they said, we'd be willing to have that conversation.
Right.
And so that was our goal to get there. Well, my attorney said to me, so we have a couple options. We can fight all these charges all the way to the end. He said, you're going to go before a DC judge and a DC jury, and you're a Trump supporter and a very outspoken person telling people to leave the Democratic Party.
98% of DC is insanely Democrat.
Correct. So we can roll the dice with that. He said, or you can plead guilty to a misdemeanor. See, back then they were saying if he pleads guilty to a misdemeanor, this will probably be resolved in 60 to 90 days. My attorney's telling me you already spent a couple days in jail. He's like, you're going to get time served because,
that's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
And I would have actually, I have to let you make the decision, but I would have pushed you really hard to take the deal.
Yeah.
Because I would have known you were dead in a DC court.
Correct. Yeah. And he
the idea of a fair trial for a Trump supporter in a DC court,
right,
is a fantasy.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
It's not
fantasy.
Not a real thing.
Yeah.
And so when I weighed my options and I thought, okay, in 2 months I'll be through this. It'll be behind me, and then my sentence will be, maybe some probation or time served, and I'm just going to be right back out there doing what I do. So I said, okay, well let's fight for the plea deal and go down that road. Well, then the government asks for a continuance and another continuance and another continuance and another. They did this 5 times.
Did they agree to the deal? No, they didn't. They just held it off.
It took them 10 months to actually offer the plea deal. Now, this is after they initially told us it would be resolved in 60 to 90 days. It took 10 months before they even came to us and offered a plea deal. And so the plea deal we get, is like this thick on a Class B misdemeanor. And I'm reading through it and I'm going, okay, they offered me a misdemeanor of disorderly conduct, but I said, look at my statement of offense. It says I entered the restricted grounds knowing the grounds were restricted. It says that I was encouraging the crowd to go inside the building. It says that I encouraged, that I was shouting to take the shield and all this stuff. And so my attorney goes back to the prosecutor and he says, we would like you to remove this language from this deal. And they said, okay, well, everything they said was it goes straight to the top. And I don't know if that means Merrick Garland. I don't know if that means what's his face, Graves, Matthew Graves. Right. I don't know what the top is, but it's one of those. And so, I know a week passed or something, and they got back to us and they said, we're not going to remove anything from the plea deal, any of the language. If he doesn't like it, he can go to trial. But otherwise, this is what you're being offered. And so that was the plea deal that I took.
And what were the possible sentences if you went to trial?
They wouldn't tell us.
And were convicted.
Well, see, and that they wouldn't tell us on the plea deal.
Right.
So if I had gone to trial, I could have gotten, if they had added the obstruction felony, I mean, literally, I could have been facing like 30 years. No joke.
Probably realistically, you were facing 10 years.
For not even walking into the building. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even with the plea deal, and this is true of any of the plea deals, they won't tip their hand about a sentencing recommendation either. Because my attorney kept saying, you know, any reasonable judge is going to give you time served.
Well, that's hard to find.
Yeah. Well, imagine our shock when they came back and they said, and this was, you know, just days before my sentencing, they came back and said, we want 4 months. And they said initially, they said our superiors wanted him in prison. The line prosecutor said, you know, we really fought for him and got it down to 4 months of house arrest, 3 years of federal probation, fines, fees, community service, all the works. So we went to sentencing, and they got pretty much everything they wanted, except for the judge shaved it down to 3 months of house arrest instead of 4. But other than that, they got the maximum fine, 3 years of federal probation, community service, court-ordered mental health services, restitution payments on a Class B misdemeanor. And of course, I spent 2.5 days in jail.
And you had to plead to those things that you didn't do.
I signed that I agreed with their statement of my offense.
Right. Oh, well, we're going to take a short break and right back, and we're going to get a chance to see some of that video.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom, as we know it, has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Quick's digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Quicks. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting quicks.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
And now we're gonna play the beginning of this video that went viral about 5 years ago.
Well, can I tell everybody they're back?
Sure.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live.
Yep.
And now Ted will take over.
Well, Mayor, would you like to introduce the
No, I'd rather not. You go.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to play a short video. We are back. Thank you, Mayor. And we're going to play just a short bit of the video. Then we'll come back, have you guys talk a little bit. And to close the show, we're going to play the full video. So
Wow.
You're going to want to stick with us here as we wrap up America's Mayor Live on a very, very busy Thursday in what we call, Mayor, the fastest hour on the internet.
Once upon a time, I was a liberal. Well, to be honest, less than a year ago, I was still a liberal. I became a liberal because I felt I'd found a tribe whose values align with my own. I staunchly reject racism of any kind. I reject the marginalization of any human being based off of their gender or sexual orientation. I reject tyrannical groupthink. I reject a system which allows an ambitious, misinformed, and dogmatic mob to suppress free speech, create false narratives, and apathetically steamroll over the truth. I reject the acceptance of junk science and superstition to advance ideological agendas. I reject hate. These are the reasons why I became a liberal.
So we're gonna play the. So stick with us. We're gonna play the whole video. It's about 6 minutes, but we wanted to come back here and Brandon, give us some more thoughts. And the mayor, we want to keep the conversation
What
going.
led up to deciding you would do video?
Because, like I said, when I was the thing about the minorities, the way that minorities are being exploited, it just made me really, really angry. And the other thing too is that when I started changing and talking about it on Facebook, and so I was being attacked so much by my own friends and people, even like people I went to elementary school with, and I just got to the point where I became so fed up with getting attacked just because I was changing my mind that I was like, I'm just going to make a video where I say everything that I think and put it out there, and if people have a problem with it, they can, and so I just wanted to kind of, I guess, put my middle finger out there to anybody who was having a problem with how people are allowed to change their mind. I'm allowed to change my mind, right?
And you're allowed to be a Republican.
That's
or
right.
A Democrat or a liberal or a conservative, anything you want to be.
And I think that's what I was expressing.
You used to be allowed to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now there's a question about it. Let's do the rest. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, are we going to talk about the event?
Oh yeah, please, yeah, of course.
Sorry.
Let's plug the event. That's very important.
Yeah.
No, we're not done, Brandon.
Okay.
We're coming back.
Yeah.
The mayor wanted to play the full video.
Yeah, but no, let's mention the event.
Let's talk
and then
about
they
the
can
event.
watch. They can
Give
watch
us
the
a
event.
about, the upcoming
You've got-
event, how people
Brand-
can join.
Yeah.
Brandon's got a great event coming up.
Yes.
In a couple months.
That's right. So in West Palm Beach, Florida, on the weekend of November 10th through the 12th, it's a 3-day long event. We're calling it WalkaCon. It kind of rhymes with StrakaCon. You get it? Yeah, and it also, it's like a political conference. So anyway, we're doing an event that we're calling WalkaCon, and it's the 5th anniversary of Walkaway, and we're having some of the greatest kind of personalities and supporters who have been behind the movement for 5 years. People like Laura Trump, people like Carrie Lake. We have Tudor Dixon, David Harris Jr., Matt Schlapp.
All my friends.
All of your friends, and hopefully President Trump. And I'm announcing here live tonight that Mayor Giuliani just confirmed that he is guaranteed to be at WalkaCon.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
On November 10th.
It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, and so no, honestly, I really want to encourage everyone to please come. If you're in Florida,
so it's in Palm Beach. But where in Palm Beach? So where would they go?
right? So we're hosting this at the Palm Beach Hilton Airport hotel, which actually hosts a lot of conservative events.
It's a great place, Mayor. We've been
No,
there.
we've been there, sure.
Yeah, they do lots of. They're very supportive of conservatives.
And Trump is living down there at that
Trump's
time.
living down there. We're gonna try to rope him into this as well. But it's actually really amazing. So we're doing 3 days of events. Friday night is going to be the main event where we have a huge stage extravaganza with speakers and videos and amazing things. Saturday we're doing an outdoor rally and a kind of a fun comedy event. And then on Sunday we're doing a brunch with Carrie Lake as our keynote speaker.
And those will be at the Hilton.
Yeah, the majority of what we're doing is, obviously the rallies can be outside and things like that. But yes, and people can go to walkawayanniversary.com if they want to get tickets, discounted hotels, things. There you go. Walkawayanniversary.com. I really want to encourage people to come. Because first of all, it's going to be an incredible weekend of inspiration, patriotism, fellowship, things like that. We're really going to get people feeling great again. I know people are feeling very demoralized. People are not feeling great. We're going to get people feeling great, get them energized for 2024. But in addition to that, I'm just going to put this out there. The government tried very hard to destroy everything I worked for 2.5 years. And I really talked about giving a middle finger. I want to give a middle finger to all the people who tried to take me down and take Walkaway down and say, look, no, you didn't take down the Walkaway movement. In fact, we're back better than ever. And I really want people to come out and support what we're doing. So if you're thinking about taking a trip, taking your family somewhere, come to West Palm Beach, November 10th through the 12th.
We'll keep reminding them. And we'll
Walkawayanniversary.com.
We'll give them a lot of other things they can do down there too if they want to go see things. And
Oh, we love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
we spend a lot of we do the show from Palm Beach about a third of the year.
Now you just
Yeah,
wrote walkathon.
Yeah.
It's not a walkathon, Mayor
walk-a-con.
Giuliani. It's called Walk-a-con, like conference.
So we got WakaCon on the screen here. Look at the screen.
Great. So we're going to get Mayor Giuliani to West Palm Beach, so he's going to do a walkathon, and he's going to
He'll
miss
be
the entire
walking.
thing.
He'll be walking.
WalkACon.
It's
Yes.
very healthy.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's walkawayanniversary.com. That's our
get that
logo
website
though
on
up there.
there, yeah.
Walkawayanniversary.com. And people can get discounted hotels at our website. They can get more information about the weekend, and so it's going to be really, really awesome. Truly, it really is.
Walkaway Anniversary.
Walkawayanniversary.com. I think you have something in there, like there you go.
Walk away.
Yep.
That's where it can get me.
Anniversary.com.
I think I got it right. Wow.
You did.
So, of
Wow.
course, so we're putting this website up on the screen for everyone. And
There it
be
is.
sure to get I guess it'd be getting tickets to this event, right?
Yeah, getting tickets, and honest to God, we could not have priced this more inexpensively because we wanted to make this available to everybody. So, like, you can get a weekend pass, meaning entrance to 6 different events for $200, and that includes brunch. It includes a copy of Carrie Lake's book. I mean, it's literally like the best deal in town. And then we have VIP options as well if you want to like meet our speakers and if you want to have a cocktail and hors d'oeuvre party and things like that. And that's not terribly expensive either. So it's a great deal. It's going to be a great weekend.
Help people with accommodations and
Yeah.
hotels.
If they go to walkawayanniversary.com, we have discounted hotels.
Good time of year too.
Yeah.
For
It's going to start
just
getting
before-
cold,
just-
so floors
and
can
it's
be
just-
warm.
It's a nice time of year. The weather is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just a little before the season.
Yeah.
So it won't be overwhelmed.
Yes.
And great.
And the
people.
prices are probably a little lower.
Great people. Mayor Giuliani is guaranteed to be there. He's hosting a pool party, and it's going to be fantastic.
I love parties.
Yeah.
The mayor's going to give it his all. But Brandon, before we sign off, what is your message? And we're going to play the full video. And the mayors may have some other questions too. But the last question I have for you, and a lot of the viewers have been asking, is what is your message to people today? Now, that was 5-6 years ago, right?
Yep.
What about today? What about now? People that are considering walking away.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you 2 quick answers because I'm also going to address all the people on the right who are feeling really beaten down and demoralized right now. So look, let's start with the left. If you're on the left and you're starting to feel like this is not the Democratic Party that you signed up for, if you're thinking to yourself, you know, I became a liberal because I wanted to do something good for the world, good for the country. I wanted to try to bring people together. That's a great thing. Hang on to all of that. But the Democratic Party is not the party that it used to be. This is now a party that thrives on hatred and division. And at this point, causing people personal harm, destroying people's lives. It's a very authoritarian party. And if you're feeling that, make the decision to walk away. It's so important. If you truly care about your community, if you truly care about people around you and you care about your country, you can make the decision to walk away. And you can join an amazing movement and community of other people who have already made that decision. And I highly encourage you not only to make that choice, but to share your story if you do. And you can do that by loading our app at walkawaysocial.com. Join there, share your video, tell your story. We want to encourage everyone to walk away. And if you're somebody on the right who right now is feeling like, what's the point of anything? We're living under this authoritarian government. Our elections are rigged. Nothing matters anymore. My voice doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. Never give up and never lose heart. Because I want to tell you, in the last 2.5 years, I have been FBI raided. I've been thrown in jail. I've had my work and my reputation and my name thoroughly damaged and destroyed. But I'm still here and I'm still fighting and I'm not going to give up. I'm never going to give up. So you can't give up either. Keep fighting because America is worth it.
That is exactly the right attitude. That is exactly the right attitude. Yep. Couldn't have said it better. Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you very much. It's really good talking with you.
And it's really necessary that people realize this is in our hands.
Yes.
You know, it's not beyond us, it's in our hands, but we've got to take the responsibility for it.
That's right.
So let's play it.
Well, so we're going to close on this video, Mayor. So we want to thank Brandon for joining us tonight. And as always, Mayor, thank you for another fast-paced and exciting hour of America.
This was really fascinating, both the description of this wonderful movement, which I think has great, great promise.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me here tonight.
And second, thank you for sharing your story with us. It can't be easy to go over that.
Thank you.
And it's just one of these things where it's going to take me a long time to figure out how this happened to us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be out of it by the time I figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you.
Once upon a time, I was a liberal. Well, to be honest, less than a year ago, I was still a liberal. I became a liberal because I felt I'd found a tribe whose values align with my own. I staunchly reject racism of any kind. I reject the marginalization of any human being based off of their gender or sexual orientation. I reject tyrannical groupthink. I reject a system which allows an ambitious, misinformed, and dogmatic mob to suppress free speech, create false narratives, and apathetically steamroll over the truth. I reject the acceptance of junk science and superstition to advance ideological agendas. I reject hate. These are the reasons why I became a liberal. And these are the same reasons why I am now walking away. For years now, I have watched as the left has devolved into intolerant, inflexible, illogical, hateful, misguided, ill-informed, un-American, hypocritical, menacing, callous, ignorant, narrow-minded, and at times, blatantly fascistic behavior and rhetoric. Liberalism has been co-opted and absorbed by the very characteristics it claims to fight against. For years now, I've watched as people on the left have become anesthetized to their own prejudices and bigotry, and the prejudices and bigotry of those around them who echo their values. I have watched as formerly sensible people who claim to reject racism have come to embrace the principles of universally hating and blaming all of society's problems on all people who have white skin. I have witnessed the irony of advocacy for gender equality morph into blatant hatred and intolerance of men and masculinity. I have seen the once earnest fight for equality for the LGBT community mutate into an illogical demonization of heteronormativity and the push to vilify and attack our conventional concepts of gender. These same self-proclaimed victims of intolerance now turning on the gay community that they attached themselves to advance their agenda, now calling gay people privileged and themselves victims of injustice. I have watched as the left has allowed themselves to become hypnotized by false narratives and conclusions perpetuated by social justice warriors who misrepresent and misconstrue facts, evidence, and events to confirm their own biases that everyone who does not comply with their prejudicial conclusions and follow their orders is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, a white supremacist, homophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic, and alt-right extremist. And I've watched as they've used these heartless and carelessly assigned labels to intimidate, threaten, bully, silence, attack, unemploy, blacklist, and destroy anybody who dares to fight back. They'll come for me, and then they'll come for you. And worst of all, the Democratic Party and the liberal media has embraced, affirmed, aided, and abetted this cult ideology. In an effort to gain voters and maintain power, the Democratic Party that I once loved has joined forces with the extremist left. The Democratic Party and the liberal media now believe their own ill-gotten conclusions and have ominously decided that they, and only they, know the remedy for society's ills. The left has decided that the solution to problems with race relations in America is more racism. The left believes that attacking, insulting, and dehumanizing one group of people elevates another. The left now believes that there are no boundaries when telling lies, omitting the truth, or misrepresenting facts when telling the news, because their end justifies their means. The left has now decided that its point of view is the only acceptable one, and that suppressing, censoring, and banning open dialogue and debate is virtuous and progressive. The Democratic Party has adopted a deleterious belief system happily and without skepticism, separating people into groups based off of identity and then organizing them into camps of victims and oppressors. If you are a person of color, an LGBT person, a woman, or an American immigrant, the Democratic Party wants you to know that you are a victim and destined to stay that way. They will insist that you are a victim doomed to exist within a system that is rigged against you, that you are a victim of systemic oppression, that you are a victim of your circumstances, and that no amount of hard work or motivational action will ever allow you to overcome your victimhood or the privilege of those around you. This is perhaps the Democratic Party's greatest and most insidious lie. But if you are a minority in America today, the left-wing politicians and the liberal media don't want you to ever discover this lie. So they bombard us with stories designed to reinforce the narrative that you are in danger, that you cannot succeed. They manipulate your fears and concerns by telling you that you are disadvantaged, disempowered, and disposable to everyone except them. They will tell you that you need them. They will tell you that you are only safe under their supervision. They will promise to liberate you from all that chains you. And then they will do absolutely nothing for you. Once upon a time, I was a liberal. But liberalism has changed, and I will no longer be a part of an ideology or political party that represents everything that contradicts my values of unity, equal opportunity, personal empowerment, compassion, and love. So I am walking away, and I encourage all of you to do the same. Walk away.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense.